This is Northern Soul, the soundtrack of a movement. Few musical movements have captured the spirit of passion, devotion, and dance quite like Northern Soul. Emerging from the underground clubs of Northern England in the late 1960s, it was more than just a genre. It was a way of life. The records that defined Northern Soul weren't chart-topping hits or major label releases. Instead, they were hidden gems, forgotten 45s from American soul labels that, once rediscovered, found new life in sweaty, all-night dance halls. The lifeblood of the scene wasn't dictated by radio play or industry trends. Instead, it thrived on a tireless pursuit of the rare, the obscure, and the irresistibly danceable. DJs would scour American record shops and warehouses, hunting for the next big floor filler, often songs that had flopped commercially in the US, but contained the essential elements of Northern Soul: an infectious beat, soaring vocals, and a touch of emotional grit. These records became prized possessions, sometimes fetching astronomical sums, with collectors willing to pay thousands for an original pressing. One such example is the Salvadors' "Stick By Me Baby," a record so rare that its legend grew far beyond the artist who recorded it. Released on the Small Wise World label in 1967, the single faded into obscurity in the States, but was embraced as a dance floor classic in the UK. Today, it's considered one of the holy grails of Northern Soul, with its pulsating energy and heartfelt lyrics, making it a must-have for serious collectors. Then there's Marie Knight's "That's No Way to Treat a Girl," an anthem of resilience and heartbreak set against a driving beat. Though Marie had a successful gospel career, this track showcased a different side of her artistry, one that was embraced by the Northern Soul faithful. The track's scarcity has only added to its mystique, with collectors scrambling for copies as its legend has grown. A track like Hoagy Land's "The Next in Line" exemplifies another defining trait of Northern Soul: its ability to take an overlooked artist and elevate them to cult status decades after their music was recorded. Lands, who never achieved mainstream success, suddenly found his voice echoing across British dance floors, his name spoken in reverence by crate diggers and clubgoers alike. At the heart of this movement were the venues, the now legendary clubs that turned these records into classics. The Twisted Wheel in Manchester was one of the first to champion the Northern Soul sound, laying the foundation for what was to come. As the scene grew, clubs like the Golden Torch in Stoke-on-Trent and Wigan Casino in Lancashire became temples of sound, drawing thousands of dedicated dancers who would push themselves to the limits, fueled by music, adrenaline, and an unbreakable sense of community. Taking the example of Wigan Casino, its famed all-nighters would see dancers perfecting their athletic moves, spins, flips, and kicks on a dance floor that seemed to breathe with the music. The casino even had its own anthem, "I'm on My Way" by Dean Parrish, played as the last track of the night, sending exhausted but euphoric dancers back out into the morning light. Northern Soul wasn't just about the music, it was about the people. The scene was built on a DIY ethos, a shared passion that transcended class, background, and geography. It created a subculture where the music mattered more than the fame of the artist, where a small independent label from Detroit or Philadelphia could have just as much influence as a major Motown release. It was about discovery, about the thrill of unearthing a hidden gem and knowing that, for a few minutes, a single song could transport a dance floor into a state of pure euphoria. Even as the original venues closed and the mainstream music industry moved on, Northern Soul refused to die. It lives on in rare soul nights across the UK, in the collections of dedicated DJs and collectors, and in the stories of those who were there, spinning their way through all-nighters to the sound of forgotten masterpieces. This is Northern Soul isn't just a playlist, it's a tribute to that spirit. Each track tells a story, each beat is a heartbeat of a culture that refuses to fade. So press play, turn up the volume, and let yourself be swept away by the rhythm, just as generations before have done. After all, Northern Soul was never just about the past, it's about keeping the soul alive.